and welcome to the Evoplay Podcast. Our industry is all about the people and the vision behind the scenes, and we're excited to share their stories and insights with you. I'm your host, Igor Zarechny. I'm honored to have Mickael Shahinyan with us, entrepreneur and co-founder at OddsGate, to discuss how a scientific approach can fuel business growth, the journey from managing day-to-day operations to transitioning into shareholder role, and much more. Hello, Mickael. How are you today, my friend?
Hi, Igor. Extremely happy to be with you. Extremely happy. We have a great sun today in Lisbon. It shines it shines me here today. So let's start. I'm extremely proud to be with you today. Thank you so much for calling.
Thank you so much for accepting our invitation to this podcast. And the first question is going to be about your career. Your career has seen a significant evolution from hands-on operation to a strategic shareholder role. Can you share more about your personal journey? What motivated you, and how has your leadership philosophy evolved over the years?
Absolutely, with pleasure. I came to iGaming from a tourism industry mostly. And when we were starting Bet Construct many years ago, it was a pure startup. So when you are in a startup mode, it means that a lot of things needs to be done by yourself. A lot. Sure. So, which is absolutely like thrilling, because every day new challenges, every day something is going on, and you need to learn all the way. I was super new to the industry, and I'm extremely grateful to Vigen, who took me all over that journey and helped to understand certain things. And the team was great. We actually built the company then in a very short time, right? So it was like a pure success. But that requires a lot of manual work at the initial part. And that was one of the major outcomes and things which I learned during the development of Bet Construct, how things are being connected to each other. That later helped me to shape up my leadership philosophy and certain things which I actually tested, got it proven, failed during my further journey. So when we are going to speak about scientific approaches, etc., so I will actually share certain things which I learned during that time. But then comes another set of operations, right? I was mostly on a product side or IT side of the things, where you need to develop the product, shape up the metrics, follow things, induct proper, development processes inside the companies where I work or which I co-found, etc. But what was most important there is how you can achieve self-organization during that processes, and how you see the self-organization being inducted by new leaders who are coming to your company. So all this journey till now to OddsGate teaches me a lot of things on both sides, like operational side, because when you are building a product, you need to go to in most of the details, right? Even if you don't know certain things, because there are, for example, certain things which I don't really understand or know it good enough. For example, I don't know good affiliate software, right? And I can integrate it, but I don't understand them perfectly well in most of the case. I didn't have an heads-on operations.
You have to recruit people that are smarter than you in such things, yes. Right?
Absolutely. And this is extremely enjoyable as well, because all these people who are coming, they are bringing their vast of knowledge, and then you think about results. That brings actually us to understanding the CEO role, right? So when you are on CEO role, you need to have a strategist role, and then you are looking to address number of things in a different manner. So even though you can do it, I mean, this is like a massive feeling that I can do it better than anybody else. No, but that's not true. Trust me.
I can do everything, right? I can do everything.
Yes, I
On
did it.
myself.
I mean, previously I did it. But then you need to realize at some point and stop there that unless you give the power to people, there is no other way to do it. One thing actually, which like also shaped up a lot my style of working or doing certain things, right, was something called servant leadership. And I
Servant
found
leadership.
that,
It's
yes,
quite a great topic, right?
yeah, I mean, it started very early, like in 70s of last century, when people start to understand that true leadership is not about visibility massively, it's about like helping people doing what they do. So you are more invisible and you are like sort of you're becoming a glue which connects people and help them to do things, which is pretty fun and like it keeps you learning things.
Hmm. I totally agree with you, Mika, because when I started like managing positions, the worst thing that I did is to micromanage my team because I just didn't realize that you should not do that because you should give them the power and strength to do that on themselves without your help and without your actions, but with your support. And as you said, it's about being glue between different departments, between different people, and not just to manage them, but to strengthen them to do the things that you want them to do.
Absolutely, absolutely agree. And what is cool about that approach is that you see new leaders coming, and this is absolutely enjoyable.
Yes, that's
Because one thing
I
is you hire. Absolutely.
So the next question from my side will be about common pitfalls in moving out of operation. What the biggest pitfalls you see that business owners, C-level managers doing right now, and how can they avoid them?
That's a very good question. Actually, one of the major issues I see is that during the years in operations, right? Like, for example, you're working somewhere in operations and you spend massive amount of time during day-to-day job. So you are the only holder of knowledge. So you need to pass that knowledge to the next level. So your team should be always aware of that. I did that mistakes many times myself when I was the only one who knows things. And it ended up not good to me personally, and not only to me, it's also to teams. So I will start thinking about how I am able to fix this. So even during the operational side process, right? No matter what is your position and what are your responsibilities, you are trying to induct internal processes in a ways that you are not becoming the bottleneck. So there are like certain things. I'm a big agile aficionado, where I really enjoy inducting agile processes up to some extent or not to extent, depending on what kind of product you do. But that processes are in general helping companies and teams to distribute knowledge equally inside the organization. So as soon as you start inducting that processes, there is less chances that you will be able to become a bottleneck for your team. That's the
And
hardest
especially
question.
and for the growth of the company as well. I mean, when you bottleneck somewhere, you will be bottleneck for the whole process, I guess say.
Absolutely. I also want to mention here something probably it would be useful for later conversation as well. Depending on the state of the company, like evolutionary state of the company, your models can be different. You are coming to a new startup and you are the only holder of knowledge. So for time being, you might be needing to guide people like massively and like sometimes it requires some, I would say, vertical approaches to management, right? Unless the people got trained properly because some are new, some are from different industries, some doesn't have any previous experience with the industry. So they learn by doing. But as more they do that, less you are appearing there. This is the most important thing. So, but it's important to be in the beginning, of course, of the journey. So you are like, yeah, you put whatever you can, and like you probably need to work more than anybody else. But that needs to be removed. That needs to be removed because people needs. I mean, if you hire proper people, obviously, and you induct a normal culture which is coming through that, then you need to remove yourself. Elsewise, there is no growth. Growth is ended up on yourself.
You have to remove yourself from the business just to give business opportunity to grow.
Yes. Basically, it is like that because you are becoming like, I would say, weight. And in order for yourself to grow, you need to remove. So you basically need at some point to understand that, okay, this is working okay, normal. And then obviously some other people should take care of that. And it frees time and your mind in order to do something else if you have an entrepreneurial mindset. There are like a lot of things to do. I mean, for example, now at Oddsgate, I'm less involved in I would say less and less involved in daily operations, or I'm not doing anything executive in most of the stuff. Yes, strategic, yes, no problem. But that actually freed up my mind to start discovering what else I can do to help Oddsgate to grow. Because of course, yeah, we're like a sort of an integrated company, which is like providing services, etc., etc. But that services can be a lot of them. And some you don't see when you are inside the operations.
You just don't have enough time to see it, to be honest.
Yes.
Like
yes. And to be super honest with to be super honest with you, I think the leaders have there are two types of leaders. Ones who are good at startup-ish situations, and the others who can run daily operations in a perfect mode. Honestly, I'm one of the first. I extremely like doing in the beginning. It's like a lot of creative power and all that stuff. But then when it comes to form a proper forming, like you induct processes, and in my case, I would prefer to leave. Not because I cannot do it, but like I am one of those people who lose the interest at some point. I always need something like, I don't know, like additional product stuff to be done, additional this, additional that, like come up with new ideas and like, which is extremely interesting. So for me, it's like creating new ventures is more interesting personally than running them in reality.
I understand you so well, to be honest, Mickael. I'm the one person, I can say that I'm the same with you, not with the same experience, but with the same mindset, that I would really love maybe to generate the ideas every day of the week, then to follow the one idea during the 3 years in a row. I can do that, of course. It's a good strategy. It's really something that you have to do in some period of time. But for me personally, I would love to generate the ideas and pushing them forward.
We need to do something together for sure.
For sure.
Happily.
100%, Mika. The next question is going to be the continuation of the previous one. What key steps you see in this transition from operation to shareholder role, because we can name your role as a shareholder, and what are the key steps to ensure a smooth transition without compromising the company's performance? Because in some point, you can do that really quick. You have to have some flow just to make it really smooth.
Absolutely. First, of course, you train people who will take care of your role. 1, 2, depending, right? To me, one of the major things you need to do is to ensure adaptability of your company, right? So whatever you left should be super adaptable. So you need to ensure that you have a team which can take care of that, which means they have enough knowledge and vision to take care of that. So that was something I was working very hard to get that people in place and make sure that when I leave, everything will be okay. And still, I still see some issues, honestly, with myself, because there are still certain things which I need to follow, which is, perfectly fine, especially considering that we're like 2 years old, and I'm still passing things to the team. And unfortunately for myself, is that Brazilian regulation. We are like very active in Brazil, and we're like working heavily with regulator and working heavily with our partners there to be super regulated. But regulation is changes, and of course the team is like following it up. We're fixing things, we're changing things, etc., etc. So until the 1st of January, I think there is not much chances for me to completely depart as I was looking for. So this is the process actually. Now this process is still going on, unfortunately for myself. So, but of course, what I'm doing now, I'm trying actually to get the best for the team out of even this transition period, because instead of for example, just to regulatory approach or compliance approach towards that, we are trying to build a product which can be reused by our partners and even operating somewhere else. So this is like a product approach towards the issue or process which is being taken right now by Brazil. So instead of just delivering what they want, we are trying to create a product out of that which is customizable, etc., etc. So it will help our partners to operate elsewhere as well.
I see. It's such a great one. I have so many insights. So let's maybe summarize our half of the conversation. So just to make it smooth transition, and interrupt me please if I said something wrong. You have to find the right people and believe them, first of all. You have to teach them well, and I can say onboard them well into your business and believe them. And after that, you have to give them this power and strength to make their own decision and mistakes, not to go deep into the things that they are doing, not to micromanage them. But in the right period of time, you have to be right there with them to support them and to give them maybe another opinion of the things that they are seeing right now.
Yes, absolutely. Except I need to add here a bit about trust, because if you hire somebody just like yesterday, there is no trust issue, right? So you basically need to see the qualities, ethical qualities, hardworking, many other things, right? So how fast person is adopting, how fast does he have a leadership skills, etc., etc. So initially, I don't think trust is an issue. I never look at that from that perspective. So I'm more looking at the team composition from that perspective. So later on, actually, at some point, they might know so much and they might be so deep into what they are doing that it's matter if they trust you or not. So it comes to the point.
That's a good point.
Yeah. The rest is yes, absolutely. It's absolutely true.
Okay. So let's move forward to our next part of the discussion. It's mostly about scientific approach, metrics, and it's more specific related to business. And from what I see, so many businesses struggle to translate data into actionable insights. What do you think? How can companies effectively leverage scientific approaches to drive growth? And maybe can you share some examples how you did it before?
Sure. Let me actually start from way back, because in order to in order to induct real scientific approach to the data, etc., you need to induct scientific approach inside the teams. So they will be able to know, analyze, and translate. So in general, my approach, it comes from a massive crisis which I had previously. So imagine a situation where you see that your team is working perfectly, like everything, like each individual department works in, I would say, ideally. You have all the KPIs inducted. In reality, like you can say, oh, nothing to worry about. But one thing actually was worrying me a lot. I don't see much interactions between the teams. So imagine like legal department is doing perfectly what they're supposed to do. Development team is doing whatever PMs coming and asking them to do. So like all good. But you don't see integrity. So one of the things which is like nature teaches us is how to induct integrity. So if you look at any self-organizing natural process, it's scalable, it's scaling. Sometimes you don't see that geometry, sometimes it's hidden, but there is always scaling. Scaling is a major thing for metastability and adaptivity. So when many entrepreneurs talk about scaling, I was reading a lot of books about that because I was like struggling. I was trying to understand what to do with this case. And one of the questions I had to myself, okay, scaling. Fine. What is scaling? What is exactly I'm scaling? What is that element? Imagine you have a triangle. You can scale triangle to make a bigger triangle, but the same shape, right? Or you can have built from exact same triangles, you can build a leaf. If you have a process of scaling, so you can have same thing. Imagine you're just adding a head count, or you have another type of scaling, which is actually can create something completely different of what you initially had, although it's built up from that exactly same things. And that's what nature doing. In most of the cases, you can see this. It was a massive insight. So I will start thinking for myself, wow, this is so interesting, like how this is working at all. And we start experimenting. So there is an element and there is a rule for scaling. That's how natural objects or natural processes are being adapted to external forces, I would say. This is what we do as an entrepreneur leading the company, right? You have always changing environment where your product plus team are always performing to be ahead of time and to adapt. Now, if we took from that perspective, how do you analyze the data? You analyze the data only from the perspective of integrity. So that's why it's very important to induct the teams who are going to deal with data, not only with data. It's just you need to have it from all 360 degrees. If we talk about, player data, okay, nice, very nice. He performs today like this, he performs tomorrow like that, but what affects him to do this? So in order to do that, that's actually part of the project which we are doing. So instead of doing just a simple the reporting system for a Brazilian regulator, we are trying to now create a data lake which will allow to get all sort of information, and with the AI try to find if there is any sort of correlations between different parameters which we don't see upfront. But that actually requires a lot of work from, I would say, different knowledge holders. So you have affiliate managers looking at the certain things. You have, like, I don't know, sportsbook managers looking at the second thing, and casino managers looking at the second thing. Then you have UI UX experts looking at how to improve UI UX to ensure that flows which are existing either need to go or they need to be improved. It's extremely challenging, but one thing you should always keep in mind: data does not exist by itself. It's us who viewed it, and depending on how we view the data, we can create execution points for that, right? So it might be, I don't know, you need to see what to scale, basically. And same is in the data. Data is also like, it's depending on how you look at it, you can see some scalable points there. Like in the behavioral process, you can see, I don't know, say deposits, how people are doing deposits, what hours they are doing deposits, why they are doing that. And you need to see all the connections with this. It's extremely challenging. Honestly, I don't know what will end up, what this project will end up with. But it's so interesting that you need to jump in without thinking. Actually, It's a risk you are taking to understand, okay, I might fail, right? It's not a problem. Not a problem.
That's right.
Let's fail. Whatever you learned there is pretty cool.
You know, one of my best quotes right now, that success and fails are on the same road. Fails just ended up earlier than success.
Yes, absolutely. We have this in agile, like, methodology thinking, like fail fast.
Yeah, fail fast, right? And I can say that in continuation of the previous question as well, maybe you can give me and the audience as well top 3 crucial metrics or indicators that business leaders should focus on to make informed decisions and ensure sustainable growth in their businesses.
That's a good question to think about. One of the things which I would actually think as a number one is a strategy for me. It doesn't mean that it needs to be set in stone. It should be pretty flexible. But it needs to be always connected with the ethics. This is actually founder's role to induct the ethics. So this is your fuel for growth, at least for me. So you have certain geometry which is being built by ethics, right? Internal ethics, which is starting from you as a founder, and then it's being spread as a corporate culture. So you always need to be on top of your ethical values. That actually helps a lot to build the company and keep it sustainable. So people, if they share your ethical values, they will stay, they will like perform, etc., etc. And then other processes, right? Standard processes are coming through. But you need on top, you need to be a representative of values which you are talking of, for sure. Yeah. Second is, of course, it's the technical knowledge. Like, it's extremely hard to manage something which you don't understand, right? So for me, it's like, number one, I need to understand all the details. I might be, as I told previously, I might be outdated at some point, right? Because things are changing and you are getting no younger, and like certain things you can't cope with it. But the knowledge should be there, like technical knowledge to me. And second is answer yourself how you are going to adapt what is your way of adaptivity for the company? Do you have any plan for that? How fast you can ensure that your company adapts or your product adapts? For me, there is no distinction between product/services and team which is creating it. It's same thing. It's absolutely same organism. You cannot separate it. So when we talk about adaptivity, we talk about global adaptivity, which is bringing and actually raising another question, how we can adapt, right? So to me, it's like shortening so-called feedback loop. So faster you get responses, faster you adapt. So in order to do that, you need to induct as much as possible power into your people, so they are like ready to take the decisions. So we are coming to the third point, which is like empower people on the places. So they by the time being, of course, a lot of people are failing. Some are learning, some are not learning, etc., etc. But this is a normal process. This is very normal. Don't expect from people, especially from yourself, that you're going to be always successful. It's impossible. So, and then leave people alone, because by failing, they will learn a lot. Of course, I mean, there are like some stuff which you need to take care to help in the process, but of course, everybody fails up to their skill, right?
For sure,
decision making.
Even once. At least yes. Once,
Yes, which is absolutely perfect.
In marketing, I'm not the marketing guy. I'm just using some hypotheses from marketing because I really love some quotes and some experiments and so on. And in marketing, they have really well-known stuff that you have to, conduct thousands, hundreds of experiments to try to find only one or two which will work. And just to give all of these things into these one or two things that will work, and forget about all of the other 98 or 998 things that you did before that we just failed, and just make these one or two things live, and it's gonna make you a lot of money, a lot of enjoyment, and other things which is related to business success.
Absolutely, but that 98 things are bringing a lot of 98% is bringing a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
I can say that it was really brilliant podcast for me with the information that you mentioned, information that you shared. I really thrilled that you are my first guest here. And we're just given one of the best advices that the audience in iGaming, and not all specifically in iGaming, but in the business environment, can hear from the man who did it not once, not twice, but a lot of times in his experience. And what I would like you to do is just maybe one quote or one advice for all of the people who will listen us from yourself, from Mickael Shahinyan, who did himself, and who did what he did, like with all of the businesses that you have.
We are brave enough to fail again.
Okay. I can say that it's a good finish for our podcast.
Yeah, I think this is something we all need to induct. Don't be afraid of failing. It's very important. It teaches you to be successful all the way.
Sure. Thank you, Mika, for being with me today. Thank you for sharing your experience, your thoughts, your advices for all of the younger generation, oldest generation, everyone who is a business. And see you soon. Hope see you soon and make this conversation in person with you.
Absolutely. Can't wait to get you over in Lisbon. Thank you so much for this. This is a massive pleasure for me, and I'm like a very dear friend with your company. I really enjoy what you do, guys. It's an amazing journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being with me today.